What's up? Straight from the chest. Guys, thank you for tuning in with me on this beautiful Sunday. I'm your host, Justin Groth. Guys, it is the 4th? The 4th, January 4th. I hope you're keeping up on your resolutions. If not, you suck, but you know I mean that with all kinds of love, man. Guys, this is straight from the chest, like I just said. Personal development podcast for you all. Guys, if you're new to the channel or new to the show rather, thank you for tuning in. Welcome. If you're a veteran listener, thank you again for all your loyalty. It really means a lot to me, guys. Guys, we have the segment we like to do. It's called We're Not Friends. And guys, we are not friends if you're one of those people that uses the word legit before you say something. Why is that? I want to ask you, like if you're tuning in right now, and I want to ask you wholeheartedly, why do you feel that you need to preface what you're about to say with that word? Why can't you just say, he said this, not legit, he said this? Does that mean that everything else you say that doesn't have the word legit prefacing it is open to interpretation? Like it's probably not authentic. It's not. Why do you do that? Why can't you just talk like a normal person? Where did this legit start? Now, if you use the word legit and you say, that's legit, man. Oh, I love that. That's legit. That's acceptable. But if you say legit in front of something that you're trying to express, like, she legit said this, that, and the other. Or, I'm going to legit do 30 squats. Like, who cares? Just do it. Just say it and be it. Be about it. Don't have to preface something. If you preface whatever you're going to do or say with the word legit, I question everything else you say. Does that, like I said, does that mean that you don't feel some type of way on everything else, or it's not authentic, or it's open to interpretation? I question everything now about you when you say the word legit going into something. One, I question your intelligence. And two, I question if, like I said, anything else is, like what you say before that without saying the word legit is false. Anyways, legit people, you're not legit. We're not friends. Guys, the other day and by the way, I should just predicate this. If you get perturbed at any cost over my We're Not Friends segments, I mean, this is my platform. This is what I choose to medicate myself, to give myself therapy through the use of my voice and talking. Hopefully it gives value to you with all the other content that I bring to the table, not just the We're Not Friends. That's just for laughs, right? It's just for laughs. It's my way of expressing what I like and I don't like, and those are just my opinions. Those are just Justinisms, right? If your name is Brittany or John, you have Brittanyisms or Johnisms, right? It is what it is. Don't get offended by it. If you say legit and that's okay with you, fine. We're just never going to be friends, but that's okay. So, guys, there is multiple times that I've attended church that I've always witnessed a pastor say, to some form or another, one touch of God's favor is going to catapult you to ridiculous levels that you could never manifest on your own. And I've heard that a multitude of times. I've heard it, I don't know, let's say 20 times throughout the years I've been attending church, and or just witnessing different sermons. And I always am like, oh, I wish that would happen to me, right? Like, don't you think for a second, like, I wish that would have happened to me. I wish I would have one touch of God's favor, because I know that it would just bring me to new trajectories in my life. Like it would shift me in a different trajectory, right? And one touch of God's favor, they make it seem like it's so minuscule. It's like, I picture it like God just taking his fingerprint and touching my chest or my shoulder, something, right? That's favoring me, that's giving me unbeknownst favor and promotion and increase that I can't yet see. But it's unexplained and it's phenomenal. It's phenomenal change, that leads to phenomenal growth and elevation in my life. Excuse me. And so I think, like any other human being, I start thinking about how that could happen. And so in my mind, I think, well, that could happen through an email, that could happen through a text message, that can happen through a personal interaction, that could happen via a message on one of my online portals, like my website, my SoundCloud, my Stitcher, my Apple. Like it could happen through all those different things. And it could happen by way of somebody saying, hey man, I listened to your podcast. I really feel that you have some value in what you're saying. Can you meet with me? Right? Fill in the blanks. And I always think, gosh, that could happen. It's not like I'm not being proactive. I'm not sitting at home eating Cheez-Its and watching Everybody Loves Raymond. Like I'm being proactive here. I'm being consistent. I have prudence. But at the same time, ain't nothing happening yet. There's nothing happening. And so I'm like, well, okay, that must mean that I'm just not ready. God's still sharpening the tool. And it definitely can discourage me, especially when I'm so badly wanting to elevate. I'm so badly wanting him to do something different in my life. And the other day, I was sitting on the ledge looking out at Avila Beach. And I remember just sitting there, just watching the ocean. And I hardly ever get downloads from God, I feel, or any kind of words that I feel like he's speaking onto my heart. And I think for one of the very first times in my life, I heard something that I don't feel was a conscious expression from my own being. That makes sense. And it said the simple words, I'm doing a new thing in you. Because at the time, I'm thinking all these different things in my life. I'm thinking about my path through my business. I'm thinking about my path and the thing that I really, really want. And I pray avidly for, and I think about avidly. And I also am stuck. And you may feel the same way. You're stuck. And you don't know where to go, how it's going to manifest. In your dumb human brain, you're going to kind of illustrate all of the rudimentary elements that could come into forecast. So like myself, I'm talking about, I'm going to get I could get an email. I could get a reach out through my different online portals. I could get a direct message through my Instagram. I could get a phone call. Somebody could find my number. Like that can easily be done. I mean, they did this stuff back in the 80s or 90s and technology is way more advanced now. So I'm sure they could find my number. It's not like I'm private. So all these different ways that God could make something happen and he hasn't yet. And there's obviously reason behind it. He's testing me, I believe. How far can you go? How much are you going to believe in me and not your own action? Not by just your own hand action. Not what just you can produce. Not what you can move. Not what you can do with your hands. How much are you going to trust in me and almost be a dream weaver to most anybody that comes across your path and nothing has happened yet? How far are you going to take this route? How much are you going to lean on me? How much are you going to trust me? And honestly, I talk about it with my friends all the time. I have no other plan. This is all I want. God knows what I want. I pray about it. I write about it daily. Yeah, I write the same thing daily. Same thing. I write all the same things down daily. I pray about it daily. And when I say daily, I don't mean I skip a day. I don't mean I did it on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. On Friday, I kind of skipped it. Saturday, Sunday, definitely skipped it because it's the weekend. No, I'm talking about every single day. I pray for it and I write it down. I don't have a vision board. I have a vision notebook and I write the same stuff down every single day. Page after page. Same thing. But nothing's happened yet. And I get it. God's telling me I'm not ready. He's telling you, you're not ready. You got to keep this up. And it's definitely tough when nothing's happening. But in the background, I can't do anything else. I can't. Because I know that I'm going to be great at this, even though as scary as it is, and as fearful as I would be going into a different dimension of my life, I know that it's what I'm made for. It's what my makeup is all predicated after. Do you get that? It's what biologically is engineered within me. And so I can't not do it. I can't. I got to keep this up because it's the only thing that I have. And it's not the only thing that I have, but it's the only thing that gives me incentive to keep driving and gives me force behind the drive. There's literally nothing else. Because when I do this, everything else will fall by the wayside and be handled. I don't need to worry about how I'm going to get money. I don't need to worry about how I'm going to do this for my parents or do this for my family. I don't need to worry about any of that because once I get the root started, you're not following me. Once I get established, which is already in the works, I feel right now, you may feel the same way. Once the establishment is set, once the anchor is grounded, it's just take off from there. I'm not saying there's not going to be hardships, there's not going to be challenges, struggles, because the devil's going to be after me like no other at that point. So you can bet there's going to be struggles, but my sword is bigger because my sword is what God gives me. And the sword is his truth. The swords are his promises. That is the sword. The sword is his promise. The sword is his truth. And I slay the enemy with that sword. Every single time I feel like I'm unqualified. Every single time I feel like I'm not good enough. Every single time I might fail doing what I love to do the most, I still pick up that sword. And I slay anything that tells me otherwise. Anything that tells me I'm less than, I slay it. Because I have no other route. I have no other path. And in my head, God is gonna reach out through an Instagram direct message. He's gonna bring somebody my way. He's gonna call on me through somebody that he's already pre-orchestrated to come into my life like he is you. And that person is gonna give unbeknownst favor and opportunity in my direction because it's God orchestrated. Just like you. It's gonna happen just like me, just like that to you. But it's not going to come without you being patient and being active in your faith and active in your discipline and obedience towards the thing that God is trying to construct in your life. But that's what makes it all worth it. Right? That's what makes it all worth it. If it came easy, you wouldn't treat it like gold. So when it comes, you're going to, one, be thankful to the provider that gave it to you. And two, you're going to keep giving back to him because he's giving something great to you that you could not manifest on your own. And three, you're going to be thankful every single day, every moment, every day. Amongst the challenges, amongst the trials that are still going to lay at your foot. They're still going to be there. You're not going to get past those. But the further you walk with God and the more he shows you his favor, the more you know that he's real. The more you know that you can trust him. The more you know he's not going to leave you. And the more you know, the sharper your sword gets to slay any negativity or any unqualifying factor that might penetrate your spirit. But you know, the truth is, he might not do it the way you think he's going to do it. Because you don't serve a regular God. You serve a giant. A giant. So, the ways that he might make it come to fruition are ways that you could never think of in your dumb human brain, like me. So we think direct message, email, phone call, personal interaction, right? That's as far as your mind can travel, dude. But I'm going to tell you, the way that God works, he works like this. You be in a department store, the grocery store, and somebody come up to you that recognizes you from such and such or from Instagram or something or other, and they start talking to you and they bring up your whatever you're doing, you're selling, your market, your business, your podcast, if you have one. And all of a sudden, something that's unbeknownst to you is there is some person 10 feet away from you that's maybe in the apple section that had no thought of going to get apples, but all of a sudden when he was driving, he's like, I gotta go get apples. That's right, I gotta go to the store and get apples. And this guy that's getting apples, that didn't even have that on his agenda for the day, is over here in the conversation with you and this other person that just came up to you and started asking you if this is you and if is that your podcast or is that your business and such. And this person can't help it over here that's buying apples. And this person is, what they're hearing from you is something that they are familiarizing with and they can use and they find so much value in. And all beknownst to you, they're affiliated with somebody that you look up to or you admire in your craft. And they say, that person would be an awesome addition to our team. And so they come up to you and they start talking to you and they introduce themselves to you and say, I'm such and such affiliated with so-and-so. And I just overheard what you were saying to this gentleman and I think you would be an awesome addition to our team. That marriage, you cannot connect. That marriage, you cannot manifest. That instance, that time, that divine connection, you cannot produce. But that's how God works. Something so crazy and absurd and outlandish, that is commonplace to him. That's how he brings people your direction. So if you think it can't be done, and if you think because you're not getting emails or phone calls or meeting the right people, you think that that's the end of the day, that's the end of all of his abilities, you're wrong. You're so wrong. That's how he does things because he's so much bigger than you and so much smarter than you. He's a giant. He doesn't do things on a small communion level like you can. He does things on a global scale. He does things, he marries people that would never otherwise see themselves because they live in two different parts of the world. He brings those people together. One from California, one from Paris. Boom, brings them together. No problem for him because it's one touch of his favor. That's all he needs to give you. And you're in a divine, connected state with somebody that you could never, ever reach on your own. That's how he does things. So if you haven't got that email, if you haven't got that phone call, if you haven't got that person to reach out to you, whether it be through, like I said, through online or in person, don't worry. Continue doing the thing that you can't stop doing. Even if it's a part of your side gig, keep doing it. That's something that never should go away. No matter the case, no matter if you have a family, no matter if you have somebody in your family that is also deathly sick. It should never get, I'm not saying don't deliver empathy and don't be with your family when that is happening. Absolutely. But don't let your vision die, which is going to be your destiny or legacy. You know, I read something in an article pertaining to bodybuilding. Just watch. This is going to connect. You'll see. And it was talking about, they did a study about trained individuals that one segment of people were doing exercises that they hated because, as the old adage goes, you got to do things that you hate to bring your body to new levels of growth, etc., right? So, for instance, if you don't like doing any squats, it's saying you need to do squats, right? That's what common folk tell you. That's what traditional trainers will tell you, and the traditional adage will advocate. You got to do squats if you hate doing squats. There's obviously a reason why I hate doing it. Maybe it's a stress that you need to impose on your body to get stronger, elevate to new levels, etc., right? Okay, so they did a study on exercises that people hated. They made them do them. And the exercises that people love to do. And they had them do those exercises. And then they measured muscle mass increase, muscle to fat ratio increase and loss, right? So how much muscle you gained, how much body fat you lost, etc. They found that the people that, and these are all trained subjects, the people that did exercises that they loved gained, actually I think it was nearly double the amount of muscle mass that the other trained subjects did when they did exercises that they hated to do. So the guys and girls, I don't know if it was guys and girls or just guys, the ones that did the exercise that they loved, they excelled at them and they gained more muscle than the people who did exercises that they hated. What's the moral of this? The moral is don't do shit that you hate just because it's producing. Don't do shit you hate. Wake up. You don't need to be doing that. You need to be doing things that you love. You need to be tripling down on everything that is your strength, not your weakness. The reason why there are so many humongously financially wealthy conglomerate companies is because they capitalize on your weaknesses. And they make you think you don't have what it takes and you need to get where they think you should be. That's the reason why they're so successful, because they're preying on your weaknesses. But I'm going to tell you, true leaders in spaces, they do not prey on your weakness. They build up your strengths. They identify your strengths and they build those up. And they do away with the weakness, because guess what? The weakness doesn't matter anyways. Not when you're a strong carpenter. The fact that you can't shoot a basketball doesn't matter. Right? It's meaningless. So why would you continually waste your time shooting baskets trying to get better at free throws when that's not even your gig to begin with? Your gig was to be a carpenter and to be one of the best carpenters in the world. So do that. Forget about playing basketball. Unless it's something that's just something you do for fun once in a while. The people that loved the exercises that they did were obviously more productive in the movement. They gave their all to that movement because they were excited to do them. And because guess what? It was still producing a stress on their body. It was still giving them the insights, the anabolic factors to make muscle. But they loved doing it and they excelled at it as a byproduct. The ones that hated doing what they didn't want to do, they failed in comparison. If you get brought up in a family that works 9 to 5 and that does the same thing that everybody else does and never travels outside of the box, you as the byproduct are going to become patterned to that dysfunction. And when you become patterned to that dysfunction, you're just going to live up to everything that your mom and dad did. Nothing more. That's it. But that is not the calling that God might have put on your life. Identify what you're great at. Identify what you could do naturally, waking up out of bed, not getting paid for a single dime from it. Identify what that is and you go all into that. Identify what that is and you go all in to that. And if you need to make money beforehand, before you go all into it, then you do your 9 to 5 on top of exercising this vision that's got you rumbling at nighttime. That's how you do it. That's how you extract what your vision's going to be. You do that, you pray about it, you write it down. Simple things. Make them a reality. You don't need to have a vision board, but you need to write stuff down. Because you're actually at that point making it a reality. If you want, let's say you want a Ferrari. You want a Ferrari, write down, I want a Ferrari. I know it seems stupid and futile, but it's not. Because what you're doing is you're connecting your hand to your brain. And your hand is doing the writing of what it is that you want. That's putting the message to your brain like this is somewhat of a reality. Your brain doesn't know any different. And I bet you if you've never written down, I want a Ferrari, and give up the exact Ferrari. You want a Ferrari 488 in matte red, blah, blah, blah. Dude, write it down. If you don't know the different options that Ferrari gives you, go to the Ferrari dealership website or a Ferrari website and type in what the different, options are and list those options on the paper too. Like get detailed. Write everything down. I want a Ferrari 488, matte red, blah, 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 blah. Just go ham. When you do that, like I said, you're breeding an action within the brain. The brain is formulating that as this is something that is becoming more reality. It's not just a fly-by thought. It's becoming more reality here. And then, dumbfoundedly, your brain starts to process that as, well, this might happen actually. And it's not going to happen like that. But because you put life to it, you have better of a chance of the obstacles forming in the path to creating that vision of buying a Ferrari. And it's not just the Ferrari, let's be real. It's the ability to be financially free enough to be able to purchase a vehicle like that. Because you're grounded in your purpose. You're grounded in your vision because you didn't give up, because you didn't provide, because you didn't give into your weaknesses, because you didn't let people capitalize on your weaknesses, because you didn't settle, because you kept believing even when everybody around you was saying, that's not going to work, because you believed with a certainty in the uncertain things. The uncertain things that you cannot explain, that you cannot formulate as to why they happened. But in the uncertainty, there's a certain feeling that is attached to that makes it a certainty to happen in your life. And you can't explain it. And I'll be honest, you'll never be able to explain it. You'll never be able to explain that. That's God-given. But if you can't explain it, I've always said it, that's a great place to be. Because that means it's something that's higher than you, bigger than you, more pronounced than you, that's working through you at the moment. And giving you that feeling of uncertainty is the best thing to chase. That's the best feeling to have, the uncertain feeling that it's going to be a certainty in your life. Done.